Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, okay. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. How are you doing? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Everything's working. Even. Oh, for what? Where? Which? Where? Oh, from the front.
And I plugged in two bass speakers.
Yes.
I plugged in
Oh, really? All the pots. All the pots. Sure. Okay. Hey, what the heck's going on here?
So I was taking the interview. You want to try the camera?
Yeah, because we are using this. I showed you how this thing works.
No.
Oh, well, just for 5 seconds. Look at this.
Wow. That's better than the real, actually.
It is.
That's really good.
It's amazing.
How many, what's the spec on that, or much?
It's this camera going through this capture card, and it's at 1920 by 1080. Although the screen is 4K, 3 something by 2 something. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's really first class. So look, now what you do? Oops.
Yeah, so there's the thing here. Synapse.
Yeah, synapse. That's what we need. Let's go for it.
So this
Yes. The other day we had a, yeah, let's put it there. I suspect that maybe we should close that and turn it on again. And pray to God. So it's not turning on. If it was turning on, I think this light would come on.
What did we do differently last time? We only used the soft. No, we used it direct, right? One there and there's one here.
We
That's the
used
one.
that.
Here's this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but we were in Zoom.
Yeah.
We were running it off Zoom. Now we're just going to try and correct the color.
So now it says don't disconnect any laser device or shut down the computer until update is finished.
Okay. While in the meantime it hangs.
So this picture is going through where? Right?
This is coming through my personal page on Facebook, whereas this is the business page. It's sort of the main page.
Okay.
Yeah. Personal page, you're only allowed 5,000 years, go to a few years. Yeah. You've seen this, haven't you? Yeah. Oh, look, something happened. Yeah, if we can, we'll adjust the color because it was, what was it? It was washed out. That's what it was. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I adjusted that thing. It's actually too high. It should go down. To some degree. My yeah, Iris Naismith. It's all small. Iris Naismith. Iris Naismith SA @gmail.com. And then you remember the password. Don't say it. Okay. You already did, my friend. Do we need to install the thing? Yeah. it's just part of Synapse.
I think we downloaded it.
If you downloaded Synapse, or Synapse for Keo,
It's the same one. Yeah, it's this one.
somehow. Well, you know what we could do? We should log into a Zoom. You know, do you have the details?
Send link.
Yeah, the same link. That's it. I guess, yeah. Join computer audio, I would imagine. Yeah, okay, it's the right place. And now we're using computer audio. And let's just go start video. Start video. Okay. Oh, also, okay, yeah, we're using it.
Tomorrow, after 11, I'll come
Okay, yeah. It'd be nice. It's not mission critical, but Hare Krishna, Haribol, Say Slava Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're almost ready. 2 minutes, 2 minuti. 2 minutes. On, on здесь? Okay. All right. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada. Say Slava Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Звук, okay. Одна минута. All right. Звук, это как последний день. Is it okay? Нормально. Скажите мне, если вы слышите. Это не слишком громко. Okay? Как раньше. All right. Okay, I will turn down the sound. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually do it now. I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now. Okay, we're connected. We're on Instagram. No viewers. You will be. Okay. All right, so you're added. And for English speakers, those who want, you can also view on my personal Facebook page. For those who want, it's also available there. All right, so we are ready. Let me just turn down the speaker volume on Zoom. And here we are. Okay. So, devotees, we welcome to our Nectar of Devotion class for today. And first thing, of course, is to recite our dedication as given by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Bhajana Nandena Mata Liko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they're honored all over the three worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Sri Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki. Buzzing. What's that mean? The volume? I don't understand. Buzzing. This is the business page here. Okay. All right, devotees. Oh, yeah. First of all, our prayers to Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, etc. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Jatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So yes, welcome everyone to the sixth day of our seminar on Nectar of Devotion. And today we are going on to the first chapter of the text. If you remember, I don't know if it's too much sort of detail to remember, but we explained how the preface, there are 4 sections to the book. The preface is something separate. It's Srila Prabhupada's personal expression about Nectar of Devotion. And the actual text really begins, the the text really begins with the introduction. The introduction and the first chapter are basically, like you could say, well, they are like an introduction, like an introduction to Nectar of Devotion, the first part. Then we go on to Sadhana Bhakti as the second part, chapter 2 to chapter 16 inclusive, and then chapters 17 and 18 are the third part, dealing with Bhava Bhakti, and chapter 19 is the fourth part, dealing with Krishna Prema. So today we will begin the discussion on chapter 1. We foresee it will go on tomorrow. In fact, it'll definitely go on tomorrow. We'll see if it goes on for a third day, but at least a couple of days. So, Srila Prabhupada begins the first chapter with three introductory paragraphs before the main subject matter of chapter 1 begins. The main subject matter of chapter 1 is the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And we will look at the first characteristic and the second this evening. I don't think we'll go beyond that. But that's the main subject matter for us to really get into discussing, analyzing, and understanding the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Because I imagine you all remember that the subject matter of the whole book is pure devotional service. That's what the whole book is about. So, therefore, chapter 1, the next step, after giving that definition, the next step is to start delineating what do we mean by pure devotional service. How could one recognize pure devotional service, or what are the effects of pure devotional service? But before Prabhupada gets into that, he gives some introductory types of descriptions that in the first paragraph he gives it's actually a type of definition, you could say, perhaps, or at least giving us some idea, further idea what is pure devotional service. He quotes Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, where Kapila Dev is instructing Devahuti about pure devotional service. My dear mother, those who are my pure devotees and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they're never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. So that's a nice sort of little, you could say, like a précis, a little introduction to pure devotional service, and, or you could say, the effects of being engaged in pure devotional service. If you actually engage in pure devotional service, then you lose interest in anything else. Classic example, of course, which comes to mind is Dhruva Maharaj. I'm sure you're all familiar with the story. For a particular reason, we won't go into the detail, but he wanted to get a kingdom bigger than his father's. But he didn't know how to get it, what to do. So he asked his mother, and she didn't really know also, except she said, well, maybe you should ask God, because generally or oftentimes when people want things, difficult to get things, they ask God. And Dhruva, a small, innocent boy, said, all right, where is he? Yes, give me his telephone number, something like that. Anyway, excuse me. But yeah, but that was his idea. All right, where is he? And his mother couldn't really answer that question. But she said, well, I've heard that when people want to find God, in many cases they go to the forest. And Dhruva said, right, goodbye. And that was it. He was off to the forest to find God. Anyway, it's a long story, but in the end, by the mercy of Narada Muni, he found God, or really, God found him. And Krishna said to him, all right, so I understand you want a big kingdom, yes? And Dhruva, being so overwhelmed by the presence of the Lord, Dhruva said, well, now I've got you. I don't know, you can keep the kingdom. I don't need the kingdom. I thought it was very valuable, like a big pile of gems. But now I've got you. I can see that what I thought was a big pile of gems was just a big pile of broken colored glass. So we won't worry about the kingdom. The Lord did give him a kingdom. He gave him the Sutala planet, the pole star. Yes, but anyway, the basic point was that when Dhruva, the point I'm bringing out here is that when Dhruva became fully Krishna conscious, he just absolutely lost interest in anything material. So that point is made in the first paragraph here. They're so absorbed in serving him, they don't even care about getting his association or living with him. That service, because we're talking about pure devotional service, that service is so wonderful that they don't care about anything other than serving the Lord. And then that is discussed further in the second paragraph, in which it's mentioned, well, there's a description of the 5 kinds of liberation. There are 5 kinds of liberations. There's Salokya, living on the same planet as the Lord. Sarshti, having the same opulence as the Lord. There's Samipya, to be a personal associate of the Lord. It's kind of related with Salokya, living on the same planet. But it's a little different, Samipya, because it means being actually like directly an associate, face to face, having a real relationship like that, rather than just sort of being around where the Lord is. it denotes a closer connection. So that's 3. Then Sarupya, having a body like the Lord, which is the case with so many men, at least, on the Vaikuntha planets. They have 4-armed forms, and they really look like the Lord. You know, we have the book Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In that book, in the second part, the hero, Gopakumar, he's on his way back to Goloka Vrindavan, but on the way he stops in Vaikuntha. And the people who brought him there, they leave him by the entrance. And they say, just wait here, we'll go and make arrangements or whatever. So Gopakumar is waiting. And as he's waiting, some of the local residents come in. And they look like the Lord. And so one after the other, Gopakumar stops them, stops each one. My Lord, and offers obeisances and prayers. And they say, no, I'm not the Lord, I'm just a servant. And then the next one comes and he does the same thing. And Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, I'm looking in this direction. Maybe that could be repositioned. Leave it on, but yeah, just so, because this is where I'm looking here. It's out of the way. Excuse me. Right. So there we were. We got up to Sarupya. Having the same bodily features means really looking like the Lord. And then the 4th, so those four may be accepted by devotees, or at least some devotees. This thing's not in the way? Oh, how could it be? Okay. You can bring it closer too if you like. Anyway, whatever works. Yeah, so there's a 5th liberation, Sayujya, which is impersonal, to merge with the existence of the Lord. But the devotees, no devotees accept that. Some devotees do accept the other 4, Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya, Sarupya, and Sarupya. Some devotees, mainly those who live in Vaikuntha, but Sayujya, the devotees, reject completely. But Prabhupada makes the point. Srila Prabhupada makes the point, and it's a very important point. It's the same point made in the first paragraph, that the pure devotees, those who are on advanced levels of pure devotional service, they don't even care about those 4, what are sometimes called Vaishnav liberations. They're liberations which are acceptable for at least some devotees. But those who are on elevated levels, particularly, of course, here in Nectar of Devotion, we're talking about pure devotional service, but it's not just pure devotional service, it's also pure devotional service in Vrindavan, Vraja Bhakti. Nectar of Devotion is focusing on that. And as we go through, we'll find there's so many little anecdotes about different devotees and the Lord interacting and so on. They're all those anecdotes are about Krishna and his devotees. They're not really about Narayan and the deities of Vaikuntha, and the devotees of Vaikuntha, at least if at all, not very much, because the focus is pure devotional service in Vrindavan. Right, so then the third paragraph, Prabhupada just makes the point that the verse we read at the beginning from Lord Kapila to Devahuti, that's describing pure devotional service and the primary characteristics of it. So as we go through this chapter, then we'll go through the characteristics in more detail, not just in the broad sense, but in more detail, the 6 characteristics. Aha, all right. So that was like a little introduction to the chapter, really. And then you'll see there, if you look in your book, you will see that the 6 characteristics are listed out there. That's what we're going to be discussing tonight, at least the first couple of characteristics like that we'll be discussing. Okay, so now, so let's just read them. Pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Number 2, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. 3, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. 4, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. 5, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. And 6, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. Now, devotees, all you wonderful devotees there, here in Radharadhanath Temple, in Facebook land, and Instagram land, and Zoom land, the Zoomers, devotees. There's one point, fasten your seatbelts, there is a point I need to make about this list, that there are the 3 stages of development in devotional service. Sadhana bhakti, practice of devotional service. Bhava bhakti, the beginning of perfect devotional service. And then prema bhakti, which is full, the complete form of pure devotional service. Krishna prema, pure love for the Lord. Totally the perfectional stage. Now, here we have 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. 2 of them apply to sadhana bhakti. Not just apply, but 2 of them are achieved, nicely achieved in sadhana bhakti, means in the beginning stages, the earlier stages. Another 2 plus the first 2, which are already there by the time you reach Bhava Bhakti. So, in other words, when you reach Bhava Bhakti, you have the first 2 plus another 2, which are, the other 2 are not available in Sadhana Bhakti, but they're there in Bhava Bhakti. So therefore, there are 4 in Bhava Bhakti. And then the remaining 2 are available in Prema Bhakti, along with the first 4. So all 6 characteristics are there in Prema Bhakti. Now, somehow or other, the list we have here of 1 to 6 There's a couple of them not quite in the proper order. So just have a look at your book. Number 1 and number 2, yes, that's correct. Those characteristics of pure devotional service manifest in any serious devotee who is trying to practice sadhana bhakti nicely. That very quickly, immediately, they get relief from whatever material distress they had before. And life becomes nice in devotional service. And also, so many things, everything or so many things in their lives, or in so many ways, their lives become auspicious and very wonderful. Yeah. So those are the two which manifest in the person of a serious devotee, even in the early stages. Then the two which then also manifest on the level of bhava bhakti are the following two. Well, number 3 is correct. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. No, number 3. Number 5. Number 5 from the list in Nectar of Devotion is number 3. Are you with me? Did you follow? It's just the list has been mixed up. Some of them are out of order. You understand? Yeah. So number 3 in your book is not number 3. Number from your book, number 5 should be in place number 3. If I was you, I'd make a note of that. Number 5 should be in the place of number 3. So what should be in the place of number 4? Well, number 4 is in the right place. Sudurlabha. Number 4 is in the right place. Haribol. But number 5 is, in other words, you just swap over number 3 and number 5. That's all. That's it. We're just trying to test your brain power, that's all. See if you're thinking. Do you understand? Just exchange number 3 and number 5, and they're in the right order. I can say it in Russian if that would help. Number 3 from the list in Nectar of Devotion should be swapped with number 5. Number 5 goes in the place of number 3. Number 3 goes in the place of number 5. So the list we have, the correct, and I'll tell you what I'm not saying. I am not saying that Prabhupada has made a mistake. What I am saying, and there are other instances, well, there's at least one other kind of significant one, which we'll come to later, is that the devotee or devotees who edited the book, they got somehow a little mixed up. Such is life in this world. So therefore the list is, let me just read the list in the correct order in terms of the step-by-step progress of a devotee in Krishna consciousness. Number one is brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Number two is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Number three is pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. Wait a minute. Number three is those in pure just testing here. Those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. Wait, okay, I'll begin again. Number one, brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Number two, the beginning of all auspiciousness. Number three, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. Number four, it's rarely achieved. Number five, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. And number six, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. You got me? Got it? All right. Now, in the book, of course, they are addressed and described and analyzed in the order in the list as it appears in the book. So we will go through in that order, but just for your information, really. Yeah. So on sadhana, level of sadhana bhakti, relief from distress, and then it brings auspiciousness. These are the two special characteristics. On the level of bhava bhakti, the beginning of perfect devotional service, that the devotees in bhava bhakti, they think that liberation is just like a joke. What sort of fool would bother with liberation? Well, it says they deride. What to speak of liberation itself, but even the conception. Number four, pure devotional service in bhava bhakti is rarely achieved. Number five, when you're in pure devotional service in prema, you'll be in transcendental pleasure. And this is not just the transcendental pleasure that we may be familiar with, when we're having a good day or whatever. We chanted our rounds nicely. But we're talking here about just the most amazing transcendental ecstasy. That's prema, the experience of the devotee in prema. And Krishna akarshani, it's translated is the only way to attract Krishna. Akarshani is even a bit stronger than attracting. It's like binding Krishna. Krishna becomes so attracted to the devotional service of a devotee in prema that even he may become controlled by that devotee or by that devotee's service or that devotee's love. Prabhupada makes that point in the 9th chapter of the 10th canto, describing the Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda couldn't tie Krishna, but then her mood of love and loving concern increased and increased and increased until it became so strong that Krishna couldn't resist being tied up. And Prabhupada makes that point. It's in the purport of verse 20 of chapter 9 of the 10th canto, that it's not exactly that Mother Yashoda is just controlling Krishna, but what is controlling Krishna is the love of Mother Yashoda. Yeah, Prabhupada makes that distinction because, initially when she was trying to tie Krishna, initially when she was trying to catch Krishna, she couldn't catch him. So it's not just inherently part of her, but it's her love. When her love really becomes stimulated, that controls Krishna. And then Krishna cannot resist doing whatever she may say. All right, so now let's go into the discussion of the first characteristic of how it gives immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Maybe you've even experienced, just when you took to Krishna consciousness, that quite quickly, many anxieties and concerns that you had and that you took seriously, they kind of dissolved and they were just not there. I had that experience myself very vividly. When I took to Krishna consciousness, when I joined the temple, which was when I took to Krishna consciousness, I had many anxieties. I could write a book about it, but it might be too shocking. So let me just say that. Life was not good. Life was not good. But I joined the temple and started engaging in devotional service. And within a few days, it was like, wow, it's a new world. It was amazing. And many devotees, all devotees have such an experience. How quickly it may happen, it depends on the devotee. But it's one of the classic characteristics that from the outset, this type of relief starts happening. Yes, so here we are then. Let's have a look through the way Prabhupada analyzes this point. The first thing Prabhupada does is discuss, or at least mention, Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayashami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I'll deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So that is perhaps the best known of all verses, other than the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or one or two other similar related verses. It's such a well-known verse, such an important point, that when we give ourselves to Krishna, he takes away our distresses and anxieties, and not just distresses and anxieties, but all sorts of things which are based upon our karma, particularly the negative things, but everything. And therefore, do not fear. We become free to apply ourselves in devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada then introduces a discussion which is going to be got into more elaborately, actually, in the, I think it's 6th and 7th paragraphs. Let me just have a look. What have I done? 6th and 7th paragraphs. Prabhupada now introduces the idea about distresses coming from our sinful activities and how they come as a result of our sinful activities. How they come in the sense, what is sort of the procedure? What is the system by which those reactions come to us? So he mentions it there. We're not going to go into the detail, like I said. In the 6th and 7th paragraphs, Prabhupada lists out there's 4 stages. There are 4 stages of our receiving our sinful reactions, from them being there, but we're not even aware they're there, to the point that the reaction has completely come on us and just really, affected us tremendously in whatever way. But there's step by step, there's a procedure, a process by which they come, which is just a little mentioned there in the first paragraph, but like I say, we're not going to go into it. So let's have a look at the second paragraph of relief from material distress. Prabhupada is sort of basically mentioning the same point. He makes one other important point, that there's a chain of sinful activities and their concomitant distresses, the distresses that naturally come with them or follow very closely after them. And we're suffering life after life because of these sins. And Prabhupada makes the point, and it's a point in general, that a person is suffering in the present life. Generally, the majority of the reactions that the person is suffering from in the present life, the majority are from his or her immediately past life. The majority. Of course, there are others which come from before the immediate past life, and there may be some which come from many lifetimes ago. But to a fairly large extent, the reactions for which we are suffering in this life, to a large extent, they're coming from our sinful activities of our previous life, which just concluded, however many years ago, however long you've been living. Yes. Obviously, if someone kills more than one entity, shall we say, I won't even say person, let's just say entity. Maybe it's a human, but maybe not. As soon as you kill 2, because the laws of karma are so precise, you get exactly what you deserve. As soon as you kill 2, you have to take birth and be killed twice. And if you're like, I saw some years ago, I forget when exactly, an advertisement for I think McDonald's, hamburgers, right? McDonald's. And it said there, billions served. They have served billions, and that was a few years ago. Don't ask me what it is now. They've served billions of burgers, which means, maybe billions, but many, many millions of animals killed. And whoever's responsible for that, if it's Mr. McDonald, I don't know if he's still around, but whoever's responsible is going to have to be killed for each one. Each one. So how many lifetimes? And so, after say 1,000,000 lifetimes, then he's going to be killed for the millionth animal that he was responsible for killing. But yeah, so like that, sometimes there are activities done which have implications beyond just one life, and therefore the reactions come in more than one lifetimes after that. But otherwise, as a general rule, the reactions, so many of the reactions that you get in this life come from what you did your immediate previous life. Then Prabhupada makes an interesting point here. This is a very interesting point. I'm not actually sure if you're going to be tested on it, but it's an interesting point. Mature sinful activities or reactions from mature sinful activities are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from some legal implication, or if one is born in a low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly. Now you may look in the mirror and say, wow, I'm not so, I'm reasonably cool. But, compared to people who have a lot better karma than us, we don't look so cool, actually. Ah, Krishna. Well, such is life. But anyway, that's what Prabhupada says there, and that's a very interesting point. It's a very interesting point. So we go on to the third paragraph, and Prabhupada says, there are many results of past sinful activities for which we're suffering at the present moment, and we may be suffering in the future due to our present, today's, this lifetime's sinful activities. But all of these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if we take to Krishna consciousness. This is the point. It is the point. That Krishna consciousness, particularly pure devotional service, and even any sincere attempt at pure devotional service is so powerful that it can immediately stop all reactions to all sinful deeds. Yes. And Prabhupada refers to the Bhagavatam. We're in the third paragraph. Uddhava, or Krishna is explaining to Uddhava that devotional service to me is just like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it. Yes. So the fuel, of course, is our sinful activities, or the reactions to our sinful activities. That any amount, you may have committed some, like Jagai and Madai. How many sinful activities did they perform? Well, if you participated in our seminar on Lord Nityananda, we went through it in some detail. And Yamaraj's main secretary, Chitragupta, when he saw how Jagai and Madai had just been delivered just like that, by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. They became so overwhelmed, Yamaraj fainted. He couldn't believe it. Just couldn't believe it. It's like it's impossible. The volume of sinful activities they've performed it's more or less impossible to calculate. But now it's all just been thrown out the window, just gone by the mercy of the Lord. Yes. So, however many sinful reactions one has, it's no problem. They can all just be destroyed by engagement in devotional service. And I was going to mention a little anecdote I've told many times before. One of our godbrothers, his name is Vishnu Dutta Das. Could someone, yes, connect? Is this connected to the? No, it's not. Can we connect this? It's only got 15% left. We just got a message. Sorry. Yeah, so this Vishnu Dutta, he's Israeli. He's Israeli. And back whenever it was, sometime just before he became a devotee, there was a war between, just for I think 6 or 10 days or something, between Israel and some other of those countries in that area. And then this devotee, this person, became a devotee and was initiated by Prabhupada as Vishnu Dutta, Adnamanuta. Yeah, stick it in there. Thank you. Vishnu Dutta. So he spoke with, he had a meeting with Prabhupada, and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I was in that war. I was on a machine gun. I killed many people. What should I do? And Prabhupada laughed. He told me himself personally, this devotee. Prabhupada laughed and said, just chant Hare Krishna. Yeah. Then a similar example is given in this paragraph, right at the end, that, where is it? Yeah, right at the end, that in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him fighting under his order. And so the fighting became devotional service, and therefore Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful, Prabhupada says, to any sinful reactions. Aha. So now, yes, we're sort of running out of time a bit. Anyway, it's okay. Next paragraph, fourth paragraph, begins, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes another verse. Yes. My dear Devahuti is speaking to Kapila. My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chants about your glories, who offers you obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way executes any of the 9 kinds of devotional service, even if he's born in a family of dog eaters, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. You know, so in other words, Prabhupada makes the point, in other words, how is it possible to say that even someone from a bad background, if they take wholeheartedly to devotional service, that they're not purified? How could we say that? You can't say that. Yes. So undoubtedly, anyone who has become engaged in devotional service even in the early stages, must be considered free from sinful activities and reactions. So how does it work? Well, it works as in terms of Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvadharman Parityajya. You surrender to Krishna, take up his devotional service, he takes away all your sinful reactions. And then you're free. Right from a very early stage, you're basically free, at least, shall we say. Of course, it happens that as a devotee is going on in Krishna consciousness, that, different things which you could say they closely resemble typical reactions to sinful activities. They come upon us. And so if our sinful reactions have been removed, where have they come from? The explanation for that is that when you surrender to Krishna and he takes away all your sinful reactions, then they become his property. And he can now utilize them as he likes. So if he sees you're getting a little sidetracked, or you just need a bit of a wake-up call, or for any reason, if he feels he wants to, he can just give you some reaction, and it's like, wow, what happened? Yeah, so your sinful reactions become his property. He's unaffected by them, but he uses them in the process of prompting you in different ways to make progress in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, that's the idea. So then the fifth paragraph, let's just have a look here. So yeah, it's basically continuing the same theme. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to read anything from it. But what we will do, the last thing we'll do this evening, let's have a look at paragraphs 6 and 7 in our little, if you've got our little presentation about, the actual Nectar of Devotion. It's on page 12, the lower part of page 12, and just a little bit going on to the top of page 13, a few lines. 2 paragraphs, Srila Prabhupada goes into some detail about how the reactions come, what's the procedure, what's the system, how does it work? Do they just suddenly dump on your head out of nowhere? Or how does it work? No, well, there is a somewhat subtle system, at least in the beginning it's subtle. The description given here in these 2 paragraphs, anyway, let me just give you what we consider a fairly simple picture of how it works. There are 4 stages. The first stage is called aprarabdha. Aprarabdha. Just a sec, I've got to start Instagram again. Aprarabdha. The word is not there. I think, is it there? Doesn't look like it's there. Aprarabdha is spelled A-P-R-A. Then again, well, A-P-R-A-R-A, A-P, so A-P-R-A-R-A, B-D-H-A. Aprarabdha. Yes, and aprarabdha basically means unmanifest. Aprarabdha means unmanifest. You have done the sinful act, whatever it was, but in this stage, the reaction is completely unmanifest and has no perceivable effect. Then, and an example which can be given is when you catch some certain diseases, like we always used to talk about malaria. Mosquito bites you, and you are just normal for usually for about 2 weeks. But then after about 2 weeks, things go downhill pretty quickly. We could now use the COVID-19 virus because we understand that there's something, isn't it, like 2 weeks or whatever it is? There's a fair number of days. You have the disease, you have it, and you're not going to escape it, but it hasn't manifest, and therefore you are, for all intents and purposes, you are just normal. Life is going on. Then the second stage is called kutam, Kutam. Yeah. Shri Shri Radharadna, Shri Giri Govardhan, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. You see, whoever in Nectar of Devotion, the editors, don't ask me how they did it. They got things a bit mixed up. You see, number 3, the effect which is already mature, and number 4, the effect which is almost mature. Anyway, yeah, there's some confusion, but this is giving a little more clarity. So kutam means that there's some sign that something, like in the example of a disease, some symptoms start coming. Classically in malaria, from what I'm told by people who have had it, you start getting a headache. And so you take some Disprin or something and it goes away, but then it's back. In a few hours, it's back and it gets worse. And you take some more pills and it goes away. In a couple of hours, it's back. And then it's really back. And then you take some pills and they don't do anything. So in that stage where the reaction is just starting to show itself, but it still may not be absolutely clear that, oh, I am getting a reaction here. Or, I have a disease. I am a sick person. It's not totally clear. Then the next stage is bijam. In this stage, the sinful reaction manifests more. In other words, it's clear you are sick. The reaction is really starting to set in. And then prarabdha, which is the same as aprarabdha without the a at the beginning, means manifest sinful reaction. The sinful reaction is just completely on you. like the disease, you're totally sick, like this. This is the idea here. Aha. So that's the idea, that's the system. Prabhupada says at the end of paragraph 7, which is at the bottom of page 12 going over to 13, the suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time. And as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. Just like that, the practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. So, Hare Krishna. Is that clear? Anyone not clear about the sequence? Yeah? In the book? I think just to keep things simple, just take it the way I said. That'll just keep it's a simpler way of, it's a little confusing how it's presented in the book. It's not Prabhupada's fault. Yeah? Being what? To do whatever he likes. Well, the thing is, someone on the level of prema is not going to do anything wrong. Because they're purified persons, they naturally just do everything right. Not because they think, oh, what should I do here? Oh, yes, I must do the right thing. They just naturally do it. Yeah. I mean, it's something like, learning how, for example, to speak a language. When you learn how to speak a language, in the early stages, you got to think, what do I say here? And what do I not say? But as you get used to it, I mean, just with our own mother tongues, after a while, you can just speak. It just comes because it's sort of become part of you. So like that, the devotees, I mean, definitely on the level of prema, those devotees are just so attuned in Krishna consciousness, they automatically do everything very wonderfully. Yeah. And they won't do anything which is really like wrong. They may do some unusual things, but all those things will be in keeping with the standards of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Like the cowherd boys, I mean, they're really on the level of prema and beyond prema even. Sometimes they tell Krishna, or the gopis, sometimes they criticize Krishna to his face. Yeah. But it's all done on the basis of love. So there's nothing actually wrong. And, there's an interesting part of a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur where he translates a whole lot of things which bridge buses say, which may sound negative, but he explains how they're not negative, they're actually glorifications. Yeah, they're expressed as glorifications, even though they, to the ear of the uninformed person, they may sound like criticisms of Krishna sometimes. But the basic point, just in simple terms, is that a devotee on that level just naturally does everything very nicely in a mood of love. And therefore they will basically never do anything like a Vaishnav aparad or sinful. Is that okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki.